The horror game industry has always been making new and innovative games in many different ways. Resident Evil basically completely shaped survival horror as a medium, Five Nights at Freddy's basically kickstarted the mascot horror genre, and lastly, one of my favorite evolutions in horror games, fourth wall breaking. For those of you who don't know, fourth wall breaking is when a piece of media, in this case a video game, interacts or acknowledges the real world in some way. Now, I've been around the horror game scene for quite a while. I know fourth wall breaking isn't really new anymore. One famous example of fourth wall breaks was the game Eternal Darkness. Very quick rundown. Eternal Darkness was a GameCube horror game where there was a mechanic called sanity effects, whereas the sanity meter for your character would decrease, different things would happen to your game, such as pretending to lower the volume, fake deleting your save file, stuff that if I had played this as a kid, I probably would have been fucked up. However, games like Eternal Darkness were relatively tame, but as time went on, game developers pushed the idea of fourth wall breaking in horror games more and more, mostly on the PC. For example, games like I'm Scared and Doki Doki Literature Club, who used fourth wall breaks for some parts of the game.
Hey, this is Editing Bup here, and I've actually played I'm Scared since I recorded these voice lines, and it's like the entire game is fourth wall breaks, but I didn't know that at the time. Anyways, play I'm Scared, it's really cool.
Creating files on your computer, moving your mouse for you, opening tabs, all sorts of different things to creep you out and help add to the game, making it feel like there's actually something in your computer. However, not many people know that there's actually a tier above this, games that use fourth wall breaks to the fullest extent possible. Games that use fourth wall breaks to enhance horror elements so well that it actually makes you think that your computer is in danger. One of the most popular examples of a game like this is A Dark Place, which is a horror game that's main goal is to fuck with you. Throughout this game, you explore 4 main areas and solve different puzzles, and throughout the entire game, it begins to actively mess with your PC. This isn't like I'm Scared, where it might try to leave a note on your desktop or open a YouTube link. This game is trying to make you think something bad is happening. From tamer payloads like opening your disk drive and changing your wallpaper, to shit like locking your mouse and mimicking actual viruses, it's really tiptoeing the line a bit of what should be allowed, and honestly, I love it. Slightly unrelated, but does anyone remember that one Friday Night Funkin' mod that shut down your computer if you lost that was basically malware? I don't know where I'd ever mention this, so I'm just gonna bring it up here. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at here is that there are games that pretend to put your computer in danger by breaking the fourth wall for a more scary effect, and today I'm gonna talk about one. Not any of the previously mentioned games, no, but one about a silly little cat.
My God, what the hell? Oh my God, punch my mama in the throat, karate kick my daddy in the chest.
Catto Boi is a platformer series that was made by Mango Key. Now, brief history on the series. The first game, called Adventures of Catto Boi, was made for the YouTuber Luigi Kid Gaming in a creepypasta game making challenge he started. Catto Boi was a simple platformer starring the titular Catto Boi, a very handsome young man, exploring various worlds collecting biscuits for his buddy. However, as the game went on, it got a little unusual as it would begin to mess with your PC, like using your name, moving the window around, and various other payloads. Although these fourth wall breaks were cool and the game wasn't horrible, it still fell into some of the cheaper stereotypical creepypasta or .exe game tropes. They would use a lot of random scary images from the internet that were completely unrelated, a lot of cheap jump scares, and gallons of hyper-realistic blood. I think there was also a deep lore too, I don't know, I've been trying to solve it for months and honestly, I've got nothing. There are about 7 of these games in the series: Adventure, Bizarre Adventure, Journey to Cattoland, Quest for Frozen Tuna, Legendary Fragments, Village Quest, and Doggo Boy, which the quality would slightly improve with each new installment, including the aforementioned lore elements. Now, I know you're thinking, why would I talk about random cat creepypasta games I think are average? Well, as of recently, the creator has taken down all of these games, and while I could probably dig for some re-uploads and cover these instead, they really don't want them being available online or anything, so out of respect for the creator, I will not be playing them. However, one of the big reasons that Mango Key did this was to make room for what I'll be talking about today, a remake, or I guess a reimagining, of the first game titled The Adventures of Catto Boi. However, I will quickly say that if this sounds like an interesting game to you, I'd recommend pausing the video now, coming back to it later after you give it a try and get a completely blind playthrough. Will this just be another jump scare bloodfest, or will this be a game that actually uses the fourth wall breaks effectively? It's the latter, it's so much better. Now, as soon as you boot up this game, you could tell there was a lot of passion put into this. The menu was redrawn to look nicer than the original, and the game actually has its own soundtrack that's pretty good. This menu alone probably has more effort put into it than 75% of all EXE games. Anyways, the game starts and your goal is straightforward. Explore the stage and collect 5 biscuits to proceed and beat the stage. The gameplay itself isn't too bad. While it's not the most incredible platformer to ever exist, I like it. Catto Boi controls well. He's bouncy and floaty, but in a good way. The platforming isn't challenging, but I don't think that was the intention, and I never really found myself to be bored during it. Also, there was a ranking system at the end like the Sonic games, and although they did absolutely nothing, I still tried to get SS on all of them because why not? However, I did not succeed in my task. Honestly, I would consider playing a whole non-horror game like this if it was turned into a full-fledged platforming game. Anyways, we got 3 levels here, all with different themings: Spring Hills, Sunset Side, and Winter Sky. Once again, kind of reminiscent of Sonic games. Each of these levels play pretty much the same. You collect 5 biscuits and get to the end. It seems like a pretty standard platformer until you beat the 3rd level and your game seems to crash. If you had no clue what was going on, this would seem pretty normal and you just reboot the game. However, this is when everything goes a little bit silly as the title screen is completely different. I wholeheartedly agree with it though. If you are under 13, you should suffer from From here on out, everything has a glitchy look to it. The loading screens have some weird ass text, the music is having a stroke, and everything just seems generally off. You go through the same 3 stages again with glitches this time, and once you beat the 3rd stage again, it all goes to hell. Instead of crashing this time, you see a faceless Catto, and touching him sends you to, I don't know, what is this, New Jersey? Now, I don't know if I did this part right or not, but I ended up just wandering around for a while, and I couldn't find anything at all to interact with, so I just ended up restarting the game. This, however, was probably a bad idea, as now the game just lays all of its cards on the table and opens up as the horror game it is. The game also reminded me to check my mail this morning. Thanks, Catto Boi. I don't think he's as giddy as I am. You get introduced with new levels this time. One is just called Night, which is a different red and black take on the grass stage from before. Now you have to find 9 biscuits, an easy task for a seasoned Catto Boi expert as myself. I beat the stage, the game tells me to end it, and we're on to the second one. Walk down more and more as the music and lighting gets way darker until eventually you just can't move anymore and the screaming man comes to crash your game. This is where the game finally introduces the 4th wall break seen in the past entries, as it buzzed my PC, knows me on a first name basis, and gave me a goofy little jump scare. Now, unlike the previous Catto Boi games, this game actually uses the 4th wall break sparingly, which honestly makes them feel cooler as they don't overstay their welcome, a nice improvement from the original games. Anyways, open the game back up once more, it says fuck, and you go prepare for a little swim. This level's an underwater one, in which it's more maze-like and trying to get to the end. Also, if you land on the spikes, Catto Boi now screams bloody murder. Oh, I also forgot to mention, the icon for the window is now just a pile of flesh. After a lot of wall jumping, you finally get to the end of the level where you're teleported to a gray area. After searching for a while, you find a red biscuit, which I really should not have picked up, and my game once again gets a little silly and bounces all around the computer before closing. The very last reboot of the game happens. It tells me to rot, and you're met with this 3D cat model, which for some reason I think looks sick. The last platforming segment is a bit more difficult with more spikes and bigger jumps, but nothing I had too much trouble with. After you get to the end, you're met with another dark grassy tunnel in which you navigate to a gray biscuit. The game tells you to choose to pick it up or not, and then you have 2 different endings you can get from there. The good ending, which is what I chose first, is to go all the way back to the beginning of the map where there's a door you can go through, and you're set to a white realm where Catto Boi thanks you for the help. Reopening the game after this just sends you to his home where you can explore other houses and people. And the game is finally over. That's cool and all, but I want this guy to suffer. The second ending, or the bad ending, has you picking up the biscuit this time. But after this, Catto Boi has a little bit of a fall, which sends him to a place called the End. You jump into a pit, fall and fade into the darkness, get told that everything is your fault, and the game ends on an unclosable screen of this cat skull. From now on, when people discuss saddest video game endings ever, this better be up there now. And that was the Adventures of Catto Boi. Now, this game is short. It takes you about 20 minutes to beat the whole thing, a little more if you restart and get both endings, but a blind playthrough was really fun, especially not knowing when things were gonna go wrong. Besides, I'm pretty sure that the creator has more of these games planned, so there will be more content in the future. The platforming was simple but easy and fun to do, so it wasn't really leaving me bored while I was waiting for the scary stuff to happen. And when the scary stuff did happen, while I wasn't like terrified by this game, I feel like an ideal situation where you have no clue what's gonna happen in this game, and you have no clue that it fourth wall breaks all the time, it could startle you a bit. I respect the creator for wanting to remake these games with a quality over quantity format, and I'll definitely be copying any future games. Let me tell you, I'd let Catto Boi erase all of my system files any day. So, what have we learned today? If a game threatens to delete your files, take control of your PC, and even kill you, go ahead and download it and let it do all of that. Jesus Christ, that was fast.
Makes you feel alive, shakes up your body, high five.